Welcome back to Artists Exposed with Tim Moss. This is a special edition. I am here with the Bronx Borough President, Ruben Diaz Jr. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine. How are you, Tim? It's good to see you. You look great. You look fantastic.
Well, thank you, and likewise, you always look fantastic.
Thank you, thank you.
Firstly, what do I call you? How are you, do you prefer to be addressed? Mr. President, Ruben, Your Majesty, like what? Stop me when I hit one.
My mom named me Ruben, so Ruben is fine.
Okay, and of course, I'm just Tim.
Yeah.
Well, now, I just kind of wanted to give the public an idea of who Ruben Diaz Jr. is, and some of your experiences, and I find you to be a fascinating and human being that I am in total admiration of. The more I get to know you and the more I get to learn about you. Now, one of my main reasons for doing this was a few weeks ago, or I guess it's been about a month or two, we were at an event here in the Bronx, and you came in and I got a second with you and we give each other a hug and I'm like, oh my gosh, how you doing? And you're like, oh, I'm doing great. And are you singing and acting? And I was like, yes, I got a couple things coming out. And then I was like, what's going on with you? And you're like, well, we've got these new initiatives in education. And then somebody grabbed you and pulled you away to get a picture taken, and somebody grabbed me and pulled me away to get a picture taken. And we never got to like really finish. And I thought, I got a show. Why don't I just have you sit down, let's talk, and let's get...
That was part of our LGBT Ally Awards.
Yes,
and it was a great event.
Yes.
Over here at Billy's by Yankee Stadium.
Absolutely.
We had a lot of folks come out. We've been doing this since I've been the borough president. It was the largest crowd yet. Mm-hmm. And it was just a great event. It was really hectic because so many people were there. We had sound system problems, if you recall.
Yes, yes.
But nonetheless, everyone had a great time, and I'm so happy that you're here. So,
okay.
I'll answer whatever questions you ask.
Well, let's get started then. Firstly, now you are a native Bronxite. You grew up in the Bronx. You went to school here, hung out on the streets. So what was that like growing up?
I'm a Bronx boy. You know, it's twofold. It's amazing because you have so many great childhood memories of playing stickball and football in the middle of the street, and games like Skelzies and softball at Blessed Sacrament Park, playing basketball in Rosedale. Everything from manhunt. We just had a wonderful, wonderful childhood. And at the time, we didn't realize how bad it was in the Bronx.
Right.
With crime, the fact that the Bronx was burned down.
Yeah. Now, was this 70s, 80s when you were growing up?
Yeah, 70s, 80s. After the mid-80s, I become a teenager. So you saw a lot of the guys that you hung out with, that you grew up with, playing everything from Tonka trucks to video games, Atari. Remember Atari?
Oh, yeah.
Some of these guys wind up growing up really tough.
Yeah, right.
My brother and I, we were the only guys on the block who were living with their biological father.
Yeah, right.
And so that presented so many other issues.
Absolutely.
And you see guys,
social.
Yeah, you see so many guys go away to jail.
Absolutely.
Some of them fall victim to the violence. Others get addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
You know, sort of like the cliche story that you always hear from someone in the inner city, but it's very real. You know, and you know, we were fortunate, my brother and I, and there was quite a few other guys, but we were fortunate that we were able to not only have such a good childhood memories, but also escape all of the negativity.
Right.
With the crack epidemic, with the violence at the time. You know, a lot of folks today still think that the Bronx is the same way that it used to be.
Right, right.
So whenever you speak of the Bronx, outside of the Bronx, people cringe.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure that you may know folks that you say, I'm going to go visit the Bronx today. They say, wait a minute, be careful.
Yeah.
That's because they think
their eyes get wide.
Yeah, they think that the Bronx is as dangerous as it used to be.
And it used to be. It really did. But the Bronx today is nothing of what it was in the 80s.
It's nothing, but going back to the 80s, it's amazing, as in retrospect, how oblivious as a child you are to how bad things really are.
Yeah.
So we had so much fun jumping around on stacked old mattresses on rubble in empty lots. Today, the kids in the Bronx, they have brand new parks. You know, we've invested north of $350 million in the restoration
Wow.
of our public parks since I've been the borough president.
Uh-huh.
You know, back then you would walk down one street, and if you saw one building that was with inhabitants in it, that was a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you know, there's very few empty lots. You don't have any burnt down buildings.
Absolutely.
And since I've been the borough president, we've done over 16,600 units of housing, all built in a LEED sustainable way. You know, the Bronx is just so much cleaner. It's not to say that life is perfect, but we live in a different world now. This is the new Bronx.
Yes, I agree, and it's bigger and better than ever. Now, again, going back to childhood, now your father was a reverend, correct?
Yes.
So you were a preacher's
PK.
a PK.
We call it a PK.
Preacher's kid.
Yeah, the preacher's kid, yes.
So did that put like any pressure on you to like be good, or, you know, it kind of like the neighborhood or the community a lot of times expects a little bit more out of a PK? Or did that affect you in any way?
Of course. I mean, obviously, having faith in my life, you know, that affects you that way. Certainly being well behaved at home, that was non-negotiable, right?
Yeah, right.
and as a early on as a child, you know, obviously going to church as much as and as often as we did. You know, when you're a PK to a Pentecostal minister, you would go to Sunday church. You're going to church on Tuesday. You're going to church on Thursday. You're going to church on Friday night. There's a lot of church. But at the same time, as a teenager, fast forward, I think my brother and I also rebelled against that.
Which would be understandable.
Right. So hanging out with the guys.
That's what I was wondering.
The fact that we both became two teenage dads when you know, in the household growing up, you just didn't speak of sex, or prevention to STDs or contraception. You just didn't speak about those things at home.
Exactly.
And my brother became a dad when he was 16, and I became a dad when I was 19. And so there's good and bad with it, right? So the fear of God, faith, being good to your neighbor, extending a helping hand, service, you get all of that from being raised in the church. But then you also, at some point, maybe it was a little too much. And we rebelled and sort of strayed. That's what they say, you stray a little bit. When we were teenagers and in our early 20s. But
that happens in teenagers, and that was my question. I mean, I'm sure, you know, because you get to hanging out, and it's a different world.
And not only that, my father was not only a reverend and a preacher, but he was also politically involved. So, Tim, my brother and I, we used to get in trouble for things that we didn't do. It's just because we hung out with, you know, so
you were guilty by association.
And then because they knew who the reverend was, then they would knock on our doors and not on anybody else's. So if someone else that we knew maybe broke a window because we were playing with a softball in the middle of the street, instead of going to that person's parents, they would come and knock on our door.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I for one, I'm glad that I went through all that hanging out and all of that and the hitting the streets and all of that before the internet and Big Brother's watching and cameras everywhere. Because these poor kids, man, they get, you know, nailed and
they don't realize that it's documented forever.
Exactly.
You have a lot of employers now who are looking back and they're using it against folks. Depending on what they posted or what photos they may have had 5, 6, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So, yeah, I think we dodged the bullet, Tim.
Yes, exactly. But now, so then you attended Lehman College and you graduated with a degree in political theory. So you've always kind of had a passion for politics, I guess?
Politics and history, yes. I mean, it was always around in the family. So I got introduced to politics at the tender age of 7. My father ran for his first office. He lost that election. But my family, we were always civically involved. And my mother, she just retired 3 years, wow, time is flying. 3 years ago as a daycare teacher. My sister retired last year as a sergeant to the New York Police Department. My brother's a supervisor at the New York City Housing Authority. So we were always civic minded. We always wanted to give back, and that mixed with, my knowledge of the political process from a very intimate point of view, not just from the books, but also my fascination with history. In school, I've always did well in social studies, so I just combined the two, and everything from studying ancient Chinese philosophers to the dynasties to just the origins of the modern day politics, which we know. Through Aristotle, the polis, and a lot of people don't know the origins of the word even, right? So all of those things always fascinated me, and after getting an associate's degree at LaGuardia Community College, I went and majored in political theory at Lehman College.
Well, now, is that where you met Hilda, your wife?
No. Hilda and I met when we were 14 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
And the block that I grew up in, we had a lot of guys, and we had a lot of female friends, and girls used to come from different neighborhoods and different blocks to come and hang out with her. So one of my friends used to go out with her sister, at the time, it wasn't going out, we used to call it talk to her sister.
Oh, okay.
He used to talk to her sister, right? Rosemary, her younger sister. So obviously Rosemary, and the way that it worked is, whether you're a guy or girl, when you talk to somebody, you want to go visit them, you don't go alone. So you take your boys or your girlfriends, you take your sister or your brother to go visit whoever your interest was. So Rosemary would come with Hilda and a bunch of other girlfriends to our block. I was 14 years old.
Oh, my God.
So Hilda was extremely beautiful and pretty, and she still is, but she was one of the hottest girls in the neighborhood. I really didn't know her, and for whatever reason, she came to our block several times, but we sort of missed each other. And all the guys on the block, oh my God, Rosemary's sister, and the guy with June that went out with Rosemary hooked me up with her sister, and everybody was trying to talk to Hilda. And it wasn't until like about a week or two later that finally we saw each other, and we hit it off. And for whatever reason, we stopped, and we started really going out September 6th,
oh my God,
1989.
Oh, wow.
So we've been together now 26 years.
Oh, my goodness. That's beautiful.
She used to go to Stevenson High School, which was the zone school. And I used to go, maybe this is why you got a little confused here, I used to go to Lehman High School. So I graduated from Lehman High School and Lehman College.
Oh, okay.
So I used to go to Lehman High School, and in my senior year, I transferred over to go and be closer and sort of protect my love interest. There's so many guys and everything.
I love it.
I went over and transferred over to Stevenson High School. So while I have a diploma from Stevenson High School, Lehman, I'm a Lehman lion at heart. I spent 3 years at Lehman. I had my high school ring from Lehman. And so, but I went chasing after Hilda. So yeah, Hilda and I met each other at 14 years of age. We started dating at 16. Wow. And we both graduated. We have diplomas from Stevenson High School. Steve-O is what it's called.
Well, and you also have two kids, two sons, Ruben and Ryan.
Yep.
And I think I talked to you once just as the youngest had left for college. Wasn't that a couple years ago? And I was asking you about Hilda and Empty Nest, and you just kind of rolled your eyes like, oh my gosh, she's going through it.
Yeah, so let me back up a little bit. Hilda and I, we got pregnant right in our senior year.
Oh, okay.
And we had little Ruben when we were 19.
Wow.
And then we had Ryan when we were 21. So I know what it's like to struggle.
Yeah,
I know. I was a messenger when Ruben was born. I was a messenger at the New York City Council. So think about the fact that I had a young family, subsidized apartment on Fox Street, 753 Fox Street, apartment 3H, on 156th Street in Fox. I would go to work in the morning, after work as a messenger, go into Queens, into LaGuardia Community College, and then come home late at night.
Wow.
And trying to provide for my young wife and my young
Absolutely.
son at the time. So then Ryan was born, and you know, that building, we loved that apartment, even though the building was rat infested at the time, and rats used to die behind the walls, and you could smell it.
Yeah.
It was, but we, you know how it is. It was our first apartment.
Exactly.
We get nostalgic, Hilton and I, when we speak of that, you know, that time. Fast forward, Ruben graduated from Boston College last year.
Wow.
And Ryan, I just took him back to school last week. He's in his junior year at Temple University in Philly.
Gosh.
But initially, yeah, you're right. Hilda was going through it, but we winded up loving the concept of empty nesters.
I was gonna say.
So for Ruben's senior year and Ryan's freshman year, we were empty nesters. Remember, we went from being teenagers in love, living with our parents, to being parents.
Right, right.
So we never got the chance, you know, the way
to really enjoy each other. Absolutely.
Right.
That's
So
wonderful.
we went from, I mean, once she got pregnant, or once we got pregnant, I was able to get us an apartment on Fox Street, but she was still in her mother's house. I was still in my dad's house. My parents were divorced. I was in my dad's house, and it wasn't until we got the okay for the apartment about a month and a half after Ruben was born that we moved into Fox Street. So we went from living with our parents right into starting a family and raising little Ruben and then Ryan. So that year that they were both gone, oh my God, we had a great time. Ruben came back, and we need Ruben to go again. But at first she wasn't happy, but it was just a great time.
Of course, I mean, again, that would be such an adjustment, such a major adjustment.
Yeah, empty nesters, it could go either one or two ways, right? Either you spend so many of your years caring for the kids, and then for some folks, unfortunately, they find that they have very little in common.
Yeah, right.
Once the kids are gone. And then for other folks, and I hear this a lot, it's just like a burst of new energy and romance.
I would imagine.
In the marriage. And that's what happened to Hilda and I.
Oh, wonderful.
Thankfully. Yeah. So.
That's wonderful.
Shameless plug, we have had an increase of 14% in tourism. So for those of you who are looking at this, please come to the Bronx. Enjoy the new Bronx. Go to ilovethebronx.com and you'll get a calendar of events, a listing of our cultural institutions. Come in, our eateries. If you're an Epicurean, you'll find it all right here in the Bronx.
Absolutely. Absolutely.